Okay, we're ready to start recording our first podcast ever. We're the Heretic Sisters, and my name is Suzanne, and we have Tatiana here. And
Yes,
we've got a little intro for you for our first episode. And so we'll do some introductions, a formal introduction, and maybe spin off of that. But yeah, so my name is Suzanne. I'm the Hopeful Heretic. I'm interested in exploring all of the frequencies with the hope of revealing something higher than our limited minds can grasp. Questions I'm pondering: what is the truth? Can we both have an individual truth and a shared truth? Is it possible to be an individual within a group? What is our individual versus shared responsibilities? Is shared and balanced equity possible? And Tatiana, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tatiana. I'm the fearful heretic. I'm all about getting to the bottom of things. And at the same time, I can be quite superficial because I want to try everything at once. Questions I'm pondering: how do one see reality without distortion? So without glasses. Embrace all the blooming complexities of life, how to express my experiences in creative work. The question, what's it all for, has not left me since I was a teenager.
All right. So let's first start by how we met. And I'd love, Tatiana, for you to take this story because I think I forgot how we met and I flipped the story. So I'd love to hear it from you.
Okay, so my part of this, so from my side, the story looks like following. So we met on Human Design Facebook group. Do you think it was Human Design and Astrology, or maybe it was a projector group? I suppose
Yeah, I
somewhere
can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it might have been the Human Design and Astrology Facebook group that you posted, or what was it? Was it me or you? I thought you posted and I was like, oh my God, that's me. But
I
you
posted
said
my
I
chart.
posted. Yeah, you did,
Yeah, so,
right?
And then Susan simply came and wrote in comments like, "You look like me." So we are quite similar, to be honest. Yes, or not quite. We are almost similar. And since that, we started our communication. We were both surprised with how similar we are. So the birth time differs in like something like 4 hours only.
Yeah,
So
you're born on the other side of the world. Tell them where you were born.
So I was born in Tula in Russia, and you were born in
Mesa, Arizona. So it was like meeting our twin from the other side of the world. And I had just started visiting the groups. So it was right away that we met. What was it?
So in the
You as well?
Yeah, so I was already, I don't know, before PTL1 started for me, maybe I was in the early stages of my human design learning. So it was like 2 years ago already, something like that.
Yeah, PTL1. Explain what PTL1 means.
PTL1 is the professional education in human design. So this is the first year of studying when you decide to be a human design analyst. So the hardest actually one with 3 semesters and a load of information, like enormous load of information into your head. So I managed to survive it, even though it was extremely hard. When you when you do it in addition to all your other activities like family, like other hobbies and stuff. So finally, I did it.
Tell the audience how you were introduced to human design.
So I heard about it first in 2011, I suppose. Yeah, it was the spring of 2011. By the way, yeah, when Ra died, actually, the man who brought human design to Russia. And I was like, no, it kind of, so somebody received such an information in Ibiza Island. No, it cannot be true. I just left and forgot about it completely. Then a few years later, in 2020, when I was feeling that world is tearing apart simply, I somehow found a free human design seminar online in Russian. But the lady was quite nice and she taught us some things and it has inspired me completely. I was like blown away. Then I decided to receive my reading and then it continued. And how was it in your case?
Well, it's funny. I did not discover human design in 2011, but my son was born in 2011 on March 2nd. And I remember he died not too long after that. So that was the first thing that I don't know, for whatever reason, stood out to me. But human design,
you mean Ra died, yeah?
Yeah, Ra.
Your son is okay.
Yeah, no, thank God. My son was born on March 2nd, 2011. And so when I saw the date and, the day was literally a few days, after that he died, it just was a connection to me. But I discovered human design. I had always been interested in astrology, but I grew up in a very religious family and then went into, rejected that and went into more technology, scientific, the world of science and technology, and embraced that and always felt kind of insecure about my astrology interest. But I was going through my midlife transits, basically. Right after my Uranus opposition, I came and started really to find some healing, I guess, in my religious background, and then started digging in more to astrology to find some healing additionally. And I met somebody through my Kabbalist. I was studying Kabbalah, and I had moved to Texas. It was a very small group in Texas. In New York, it was very big. And I met right away another person who said, "You need to check out this church." And that's when I started to really find some healing in the deeper aspects of religion that my religious background did not teach me. And then she suggested I go to this evolutionary astrologer. He was in Sweden. So it was a very interesting journey that I went with him, but his wife studied human design. And so he started giving me some materials, but I was really heavily into the astrology part, but I had some problems with my teacher and I needed to take a break. And I had some other people that were into human design and just slowly kind of pulled me in. And I felt a lot of resonance with Ra, although, some parts of his teaching I don't resonate with, but I did have a strong resonance to him and to some of the teachings in human design.
What year was it actually? So can you say, you talk about opposition, so it was 2017, 2018 or something like that?
When I first got into meeting this evolutionary astrology, I purchased like this big package. I think it was right after I quit drinking in 2019, late 2019, I started to really heal. And that was around the time of COVID. And everything went into lockdown. And so, yeah, it was a big kind of confluence of events. I had already been studying astrology for a little bit, but it just kind of all coalesced into human design after that.
Okay, understood. I did mention that actually I was searching for something looks like the whole life through since I was 7, since I was a teenager. That's why also I jumped on human design so intensely, just because I tried this and that. I studied this. Managed to study philosophy, but after that, I was working also in some other fields, in events, in marketing, in logistics, and everywhere, like all the roads. I tried all the possible roads, but still this hunger to find an explanation or a system that shows me the way, or okay, helps me to understand. Because with Castaneda, I was really deep into it in something like around I was 20, 19, 18. But this system was finally I understood how narrow it is and the specifics and so on. So Castaneda is such a special thing, and it's a question what kind of system it is. Then I was out of it, of course, but looks like my subconscious level is built with some elements of Castaneda in it somehow.
What is Castaneda? Please tell me.
So
I don't know what
Carlos
this term is.
Castaneda, all the distorts of perception, Don Juan and his teaching, the books of no, it should be known, I suppose. He started to write them. So he was a student of in UCLA. He studied anthropology, and he was on his field trip in Mexico, and there he met his Don Juan and ancient teachings of the people. So how maybe my spelling is so correct.
Oh, what is his name? Oh, I know what you're talking about. The Casanova?
Castaneda. No, Carlos Castaneda.
Oh, what is the book that he wrote?
So he wrote many books, and it was extremely popular in Russia in the beginning of 1990s. Yeah, so it was all printed out finally, because in USA these books were printed in 1968 and later. So in times of doors, so Carlos Castaneda, Don Juan, and his teachings. So yeah, you can check it later. It was quite interesting. Maybe my spelling sucks. I'm sorry.
No, I might not know. I might not know about it. I was, you're. I mean, I've always been into literature, and it's very funny because I used to be really into the Russian literature, and you're from Russia, so there was some kind of. I don't know. There was some kind of symbiosis. I felt a symbiotic kind of resonance with you. I mean, obviously we have the same design, but sometimes you can have an aversion to people that are like you. But it feels like we just kept in touch, and ever since, and we decided, hey, why don't we do something? And here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Somehow we managed to stay in touch. I'm especially grateful to you for this coming to immersion done by Marianne Winiger, one of the closest disciples of Frau Ruhu, who brought the knowledge of human design to this planet. And simply you wrote me like, hello, I'm coming to the immersion to Stockholm. Are you coming too? I'm living in Berlin. Like, okay, Susan comes from USA the whole way through, and I'm still thinking if I would come or not. I'm always admired Marianne for her sincerity, and I like the book she wrote, and I like the style she teaches, and so on. And finally, simply, if you didn't ask me, if you didn't say that you're coming, it's a question for me if I would decide to come. But luckily, we met each other, so we're not only in virtual communication, we met each other in person, and it was nice.
Yeah. I felt it in an instant, I can relax with you, I mean, we were active, but I felt like I could just be myself. And that was, it's been so hard for me to find people I can just relax with and be myself with. And that immersion was really hard for me, and I was really glad to go. But yeah, there was somebody there that I wasn't quite wanting to see in a weird way, although he was the one that brought me into studying intensely. So it was a weird thing. And so then I didn't feel like I really connected with Marianne, even though I really enjoyed the immersion. In the immersion, I felt like I couldn't relax and be myself. Around you, I could, but it was an interesting journey. I'm glad we met. I also met another person who was very gracious and let me stay at her place, and we've moved on from our friendship. But it was such an important turning point, I think, that immersion. So I'm glad we met. it was very important to me, and I'm glad we're here still.
Yeah, it was also very important to me. Nice. You see how it-
Cool. So
done for us.
yes. So we wanted to like show, this is mainly kind of a podcast, but because we're talking about human design, we wanted, and astrology, we wanted to bring in sort of those elements, and it's hard to really see what we're talking about without visuals. And we wanted to show you our charts, and because we've both been studying, but since Tatiana has her official analyst certificate, right?
Certification. Mhm.
Yeah. I thought it would be great if you could talk a little bit about our designs and show what our designs look like.
So if you would have a look, are we talking for the audience that maybe not that deep in human design? Yes, so I would try to.
Yeah, so we don't know who's going to be listening. Hopefully somebody will. But yeah, just
so,
it might be people that are just have no idea. There's so much information on these charts. But just to point out kind of that you can kind of see the similarities, but maybe the differences. And yeah, I would approach it very simple.
Yeah, okay. So if you see on the left, we see the chart that belongs to Susan. On the right is me. Actually, if you are not deep into this kind of stuff, you're not deep into human design, like you do not see any kind of differences. We are like almost similar. From when you look briefly, like absolutely similar. But actually, if we look, so first of all, we belong to quite a rare type of projectors. Okay, we're both projectors. Something like human design puts it, something like 20% of population in this on this planet, and we are born like guides into this world. We do not have our own battery inside, our plenty of energy. We have to be really careful with it, but we can guide others just because we are a little bit of aliens here on this planet. We are more
Aliens,
in
did you
our
say?
head. Yeah, we are aliens on this planet. We are living more in our head and observing everything and watching how the energy flows. And others on this planet are mostly busy with spending their energy as intense as possible. So
Yeah.
no, I'm blaming no one. It's just people belong to different types in human design, and mostly the biggest part of our planet population has an energy to spend, and is quite active. Now we are like more looking at it from observation position. So we both belong to this type, and actually, what makes us a bit more rare is that we have triple split. So let's put it like this: that each of us has 3 different persons inside, yeah, and these persons communicate. They have different moods. Sometimes I'm acting like this part of myself, sometimes I'm acting like that part of myself. It is also stated in human design that this type of people usually thinks one thing, speaks another words, and acts totally in a totally different way. So I'm trying to observe this thing in myself. So like, yes, probably it is right. I'm a chaos meister. Yeah, I suppose you also feel yourself sometimes like
What's a
chaotic person. Chaos meister. Yeah, chaos meisterin, if you say it in German.
What does that mean? I don't even know that word.
Chaos, but you say in English. How do you say it in English? Chaos, chaotic. Do you feel yourself chaotic? Chaotic. Yeah. But yes. That's how it. Sorry, I'm using three languages, and only in Russian I make no mistakes at all. Almost. Okay, chaotic. So, like, I do feel like I'm a bit chaotic. This is. Do you agree, or you like feeling more or less organized person, as a more or less organized
Very
person?
chaotic at times.
Yeah.
Yes. I have to really fight. I've actually, I think because of the chaotic, because I grew up in a chaotic environment, I have had different periods of trying to have more control. And so I go back and forth between, okay, I need to get things under control. And so that's the, you know, in astrology, that's the Virgo part of it, you know, the opposition, you know, okay, what are the strategies? I've learned how to, I'm a right mind, but what are the strategies that I can overtake this chaos? And so, yeah, I definitely agree with that chaotic. Yes.
And this is and also our charts are similar, so similar, but they are almost similar. The fact that almost all centers, energetic centers that you see on this chart are colored, so it means defined in human design. Like we are the people whose energy is functioned in a defined ways. Yeah, like somebody had an analogy that we are like a tram. We have the way we have to go, and that's it. And to be honest, I can agree that it is not that simple to be near such a person, such a big amount of energy fluctuating inside us. So it could be true also. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed. Sometimes, yeah, it could be uncomfortable to communicate with the projector because he sees through you. That's how we are built. But in addition, we are additionally difficult to be around sometimes.
Fixed, very fixed.
Very fixed way of thinking, of feeling. Yeah, you mean that our own pattern. Yeah, our own patterns that.
Yeah, opinionated. Yeah, I mean, I had this reading with a fabulous projector here. I haven't met her in person, but I had this reading, and it was the same thing that happened with my first reading. It's like I learned everything at the beginning. I dug into everything, and I had a lot of like mental fixations on certain things, and especially around human design and who's who. She says wow, you're really powerful. And I think what she meant was that fixation, that fixed mental energy, I would describe it. You know, the need to figure everything out and to know. And I mean, she was a projector too, but she had a lot of openness. So I think a lot more receptivity, even though I can be very receptive, you know, if I'm trying to, if I'm in a certain mood or I don't agree with something, I'm very fixed in that way. I've learned a lot over the past few years of letting some of that go, but yeah, very fixed.
Okay. Yeah, that's true for me also, very fixed way. And our head, if you look at the place, so two centers in our head are defined. This is also quite a rare thing. Do not remember the statistics. Something like 20% of people or 30% of people have defined head, or even less. So it means that we both have a machine that works 24 hours a day. I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work at night, and I sleep. But I suppose even when I sleep, sometimes I wake up with thoughts that are flowing out of my head. Yeah. Do you feel sometimes this way? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't go although I can be in nature
and then you feel yourself
feel better, very like connected. So sometimes when people say that there's no, you know, we're always thinking, I guess so. There's some kind of narrative going on for sure. I'm sure, you know, if I just notice, but to me, there's part of me that really likes not communicating and being silent
and quiet. That's nice. How nice. Because I definitely belong to people. In my reading, actually, nice Zhenya told me that like meditation is not your thing. Meditation is not my thing. I don't even want now to think about it. But walks in nature, yeah, this is a totally another thing. And once I was in Bali and was doing yoga in a big group, and the teacher was amazing. She was a lady who spent a few years doing yoga naked in somewhere in the forest. So like a really natural born yoga teacher, a bit crazy one. and she was leading her lesson, and she said, now we do this and that, and please close your eyes. And then she looked at me and said, and those with such an intense head can leave their eyes open.
I think that's the difference between left mind and right mind, because I'm right-minded. And so like
Yeah.
I can totally, and you are a little bit more like,
Yes,
you know,
I have.
yeah.
Yes, that's the difference. Now I come into differences because I have a strategic mind in kind of more relaxed, Umgebung, how do we say, uh, surroundings. And you have a right mind, the mind that, how would you describe your right mind? Tell me, because if you can describe a strategic mind, it's simply the mind that is preferred in this world. Like I have my goals, I want to reach them. I'm more or less structured, which is not true actually. You are more structured than me. but
It's funny.
can you explain the right mind then? Your right
Well,
mind.
from what I understand, because I've tried to really grasp, there were certain things that I really resonated with the description of the right mind, which is that I can control. I take a lot of things in, and I definitely have became more strategic with the feeling of the need to be more strategic. But I over prepare, because I was so afraid, especially in the business world, I was so afraid of not remembering things, because I definitely if I'm not relaxed, I have a horrible memory. I can, like, just like they said, I can read a book and just be so immersed in it, and after I'm read it, it's gone. Like, my brain is very efficient, so it's just kind of like I absorb everything, and I'm very interested in certain things, the focused kind of the focused part of me, which is more of the environment, really focusing in on something. But it's like I just like absorb everything, and then like they said, somebody has to really pull it out of me. The right experience, the right people will pull it out of me. So if somebody, if I have a lot of pressure going on, and I feel like I have to perform and be on for somebody, that's just the death knell for me. I get so anxious and anxiety ridden when that, and when that's expected of me from somebody who's very strategic. And I think that's also part of me. I really love meditation. I had to find the right meditation for me, but it really helps me understand what's going on in my head, and it's really been helpful to be in that place where I'm just watching my thoughts, because it's been able to give me some distance between what is happening, that little distance between what's happening in my observation mode. So I love that personally, even though I think people have a misconception about what meditation is. You can do walking meditation too. It's just basically watching what's going on, rather than trying to figure it out, being identified with the mind. So that's been really helpful for me. But yeah, it's just like I don't control what I take in. It just kind of happens based on my interest, my hot thirst, my desire to consume it. And then I learn in time. It takes a long time. Like, we're a triple split, so it takes a long time for me to integrate everything. Right.
So we are both quite emotional, and with triple split, we are like actually one of the slowest creatures that could ever be met on this earth. But you have to, when you leave yourself, it is really difficult for me to be slow. I think for you too. Yeah, we learned so early that one has to be to make everything as so how to say, on a high speed, like the schneller. So the faster you do it, the better. Yeah, that's how we were told.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was in a big family, a chaotic family, and I would just be like in my room hiding, reading, because I wanted to escape. And then I felt very lost and needed to. And then at a certain point in my teenage years, I was like, I got to get out of here. And so then it was just busy, just like, every other generator or manifesting generator. I just had to get out. And so I had to learn how to live in this world with other people that weren't like me. And that consumed me for a very long time.
Yeah, same here, of course. So we are both truly, really deeply emotional in some of some interesting way, because there is a channel, we call it in Human Design 3955. So this is an emotionality of unexpectedly high grade. So it is, and I'm talking not about only the romantic stuff. All the feelings that we have, they can be extremely strong. The feelings that we experience in our life, and also there are years when I was like quiet, and I didn't even recognize how emotional I am. And so in some years, it's like enormous fluctuation. You are emotionally high, then you are on your emotional low, and if it lasts more than 1 week, then it's simply terrible. It's a disaster if you stay in this situation long. Sometimes it can happen if you do not live yourself truly, and it happened to me many times. At the same time, I suppose this is also known to you. Like for months, I've spent, especially during my Uranus opposition. Yeah, I spent months in a state of similar to some kind of Buddhahood. Yeah, like I was watching the energy flow. I was like almost like I was Buddha himself. Yeah, in my body. Then you are going back into your deepest level, and then you try to find yourself somewhere in the middle. It's really difficult, but it's a nice journey so far. Yeah, emotional roller coaster. How do you share something about your emotional roller coaster? How do you feel it?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's been periods of my life. I would describe this period to be similar to the period I found myself in New York City when I moved there. These transitional moments where I'm lost and I don't know where to go. I don't know which direction. We both have the 14. There's no direction. I'm depressed. I'm very depressed. I'm functioning, but I'm in certain ways despondent and trying to figure out what's going on, and trying to push myself out of it, because there's strategies when you grow up with the 3955, and we have a very specific moon in the 55, and black moon, I'll talk about the astrology, which makes us more emotional, I think, than some other 3955s. I went through periods of being very lost and depressed, moody, where I couldn't find a way out of it. And so I created strategies to try to push myself out of it. But there were periods of time that I was just lost and trying to find my way. And that was kind of in the New York City area after 9/11. After I was graduated from college with a theater degree, and before I found marketing, I was just like, and it was a long transition, same transition that I'm having now, and periods of depression. But I didn't like that part of myself, so I denied it. I tried to push it away from me, and I think that made it worse for me. In particular, I had problems with alcohol, overeating, smoking, trying to solve that part, trying to find the spirit again.
Yeah, you're not alone here. All these things happen to me too. Yeah. And also maybe good to mention this 1858 channel that first of all shows if you have a gate 18 in your design, that definitely you have you had a problematic childhood, which is true for both of us. Yeah, our families were not that simple and somehow traumatic for us both. Yeah, and this channel, so the channel of a beach. Yeah.
The
Judgment channel. Yeah, for bitch.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So the the first thing you see when I enter the room, the first thing I see what is wrong with the people there, maybe with their clothes. Or so now it is definitely in my years, not so many years actually in human design, almost 4 years, let's say. Like it definitely became better, but previously it was definitely, so first thing you see is what is not correct here and there in person, in me, in myself. Oh god, it's so difficult when you turn it against yourself. Luckily human design teaches us that we have to use it for developing, for making the things in collective space better, not for our own improvement. Or for God's sake, do not try to improve your own husband. Yeah, for example.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's also the feature we have. And I suppose we are staying quite a long time already in human design part, because we still have to dive into astrology. But what is important to mention, there are some difficulties, some differences, sorry, difficult differences in our designs. And actually, what I found really interesting, that you have this gate 44, you have your Mercury, design Mercury in it. Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And my design Mercury is in the gate 28, so the sixth line, and for you it is 44-1, and that is a like that is I understood how it works, how it makes us a bit different. So you have a part of the design of a transmitter and personal manager, higher manager. Yeah, this part of 44 in your communication, finding right people, like you found me. You found me. That's how it happened. You can find the right people. That's a feature that you have with your communication, with your Mercury, and it happens automatically. Uh, and in my case, I have this 28 two times defined, yeah, in Uranus and the blaze of glory. And this line is quite difficult. My stubbornness and my readiness to how to formulate it correctly. I even try to, so I would say, I would put it like, I want to win, and it doesn't matter what is the price. Yeah, what price I have to pay. That's how it happened. For example, now I understand why it has happened like that with my certification. I did my human design certification in 3.5 years after I started. I'm already certified, and also as like living your design teacher. I needed this victory. The price is high. The price is really high, because I was like almost falling apart after it.
Yeah.
But I want, so this stubbornness, so 2 times defined 28, it could be hard. Do you feel your 44 and Mercury? Do you somehow feel it? Your
Well,
intuition, should be more intuitive in this case also.
well, I do notice. So I would say the genius, Mercury and Uranus together is a genius kind of energy. You know, it's like a real, a real different thinker. You know, a capacity for genius level thinking in astrology, anyway. But for me, the sense of smell. It's a sense of I could sniff out the right people and the wrong people, and sometimes I don't listen. You know, I don't listen to my intuition, and it's very powerful. And I can already know, but tell myself, no, it's fine. They're not really. They're going to be fine for me. And then later it's confirmed, and people actually come to me with information. Like I don't even ask for it, don't fish for it at all. They'll just come and tell me things, and I get information that way. And it's always surprising to me. It happens over time. So what I've learned is that, first of all, if you are sensing something, be still and wait, before getting involved or whatever, because you got to wait for your wave, obviously, but you'll get more information about those people over time. And and possibly they needed to come in. We're 5/1, where we attract certain people into our lives for sometimes we don't know why. But if you just wait long enough, people show their true colors, or you get the information that comes into you. So yeah, I would say that I definitely have a really strong intuition, and sometimes I don't know why, and sometimes I will react. I mean, I used to go into the place where I struggle, you know, because struggle. I don't have 38, but it is in my sleep chart, and there's like an instant knowing that this is wrong in the situation. A very idealistic self-righteousness, I would say, a little bit. This is a wrong what you're doing, and but sometimes I react too quickly. I just need to wait. And then I understand why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling. And then I can articulate that better. And without, like you said, with a place of love rather than attack. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. That's nice. Just and then I understand that I'm more into sound. This is 28 brings also this. So I'm more to this side, even though I also smell. So smell is important to me. But this thing that you can smell the right people, or if it's right or wrong, it's amazing. Yeah, it's nice. I can hear. I can hear. I can hear it.
Yeah.
I can. So I definitely react. I can detect what is going on inside person with the voice. I can more or less feel it. Yeah, like we are most extremely sensitive, and we can feel people. Yeah, but you can even smell them like that.
I can smell them and I can hear them. I can definitely hear them. I remember, you know, I took a class with a lock, you know, and I, you know, it was a lot of the times I take him in through sound, and I could tell like when he was going through something, and he's so powerful, and his voice is so powerful. I can just
yes,
that.
I agree.
It really was just. I mean, it obviously. I think a lot of people can hear him, but it was just so incredibly the nuance of that for me. Even through his words, sometimes there was one time he emailed, and I could hear his voice through the email. It was just amazing to me that I could hear it, because it was like it was like in my cells, because I had familiarized myself with his voice for so long, and I didn't actually start to really embed the knowledge of human design until I started listening to Ra.
Yeah, actually, so this voice, this magic voice, and Alok, for those who didn't know, one of the closest disciples, friends of Rao Ruhu, he teaches his own sort of human design, not the official one anymore, although he's certified by International Human Design School in some parts of his knowledge, but he's developing his own line, I suppose, in the moment. So you studied a little bit with him also, but yeah, I can only confirm. Yeah, he has a really powerful voice. To be honest, I attend now psychotherapy. There are people that have such a voice, and for the moment, our therapist is ill, and we have another one, the man. He has a voice, I don't know whose voice, voice of Agent Smith, but really soft one. And when he talks, it's almost like I don't know how to, like a magician, even though it is simply a psychotherapy, but we all feel ourselves relaxed immediately. So there are some voices that definitely mutate you simply when you are in the same room when you're listening to them. And Alok definitely, and Ra was a master of such a voice. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't hear people. Like there's certain people I can't listen to. So it has to be definitely the right voice for me. But yeah, I mean, Alok was one of the first people that I was entranced by, I would say, to his voice, and because that's the way I received him. When I wasn't taking a class with him, but I would listen to his audios, and Yeah, I mean, I took the LYD course and I took a Penta course, and he's a triple split too, and
He's like
so
us.
an emotional, and so I had a lot of resonance with him at the beginning, and then and I thought I'd study with him, but it didn't work out. So, and those things are just, for me, it's like I listen. There's a reason, for me. I mean, logic is, you try to make up stories, but for whatever reason, it didn't continue. But I think there was probably that was too much for me at that time. And so I needed to take a step back and distance myself from human design in general, although I did come back to it. But I went further into my astrology studies.
You just simply made a choice. Yeah, I was trying. That's also brings us to a difference in our charts. So these 4 hours in between, what do we have there? So there is a category named variables in human design. I don't want to dive deep into it, but it shows us the motivation and how to say, like, so let's talk about it in terms of motivation or our internal drive. And this
Yeah.
small parameter is different in us. Yeah. And when we talk about your variables, your parallel dealer, so you're like Oracle Harry. Yeah. So the information should be, so you consume a lot of information, you take it into your mind, and then you need people to ask you questions. Yeah, and you could be an oracle. Yeah, so you are an oracle, Harry. Yeah, Harry Potter, tell us what happens next.
Oh God.
So
Yeah, I
that's
guess.
you. Yeah, that's uh so you receive a lot of things, so you have a lot of things inside, and it's nice that you have this 44 and possibility to find, to attract correct people, because we would ask you the questions you need to show your knowledge, to give us something in return.
They
So
don't like it. They don't like it when I give them. So
I
I have to be
ask
careful.
you. Yes, but if you meet right people, maybe with right questions, everything would go smoother. Yeah,
They
let's say we
might
are.
need that information that I'm giving them, but for me, I got to really be careful about, it's my learning of, okay, well, how do I don't know, because they might receive whatever they, even harshly, they might get what they need, but but I rather phrase it in a way, or give it in a way that's loving than that's shocking. But it's 39. I can't help it in some way.
Yeah, and maybe this is 22nd gate, 6 lines that we have. Yeah, the one that we have now with Jupiter, because the second part of the line shows like extremely antisocial openness, something like that, in my words. Yeah, so you are open even in a case when maybe it could be better to shut your mouth, halt die Klappe, yeah, like it is said in German. Yeah, like close it.
Yeah,
but
or crisis happens.
Yeah, and I didn't know why is it so powerful in me, why I have so many problems with it. But I have a sister who's 1 year younger than me, and she has 22/6 as a personality sun. So this is one of the main points in her chart. And we were growing together. We attended one class. We lived in the same room. So until I was 17, I was totally conditioned. And she's a manifestor. She's like really influential one. And I'm
What's
like,
her
why do
channel?
I always? Yeah.
What's her channel? What's her channel?
You mean channel? Sorry.
Manifesting channel. What is it?
She's like the 2212, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. My uncle was like that. Yeah.
So she was like, that's how our family can condition us. It's not bad, neither bad or good, but it was like really eye-opening for me. Why do I always face the situation when I talk too much, or I'm open where I should better be closed, with people. And then I understood, okay, that's when I saw her chart and that she's a manifestor, the people that can strongly influence you. That's their task in this life, to influence us all, to push us towards the movements of the energy they manifested. Like, okay, now, and it became easier for me to observe it. Once you start observe it patiently, you give yourself time, you understand the reasons more or less, then it becomes easier. Now sometimes I will notice when I should halt die Klappe, to keep my mouth shut.
Nice, nice, yeah.
Regarding, yes, also just I'm ending with human design now with my variable, which is stellar dealer, quite unstable one. Just so one with that mind has to be really careful, because mind is, could be really unstable in times of stress, or when you do not care about yourself enough. And I'm all over the place, but it's like, that's why I'm involved in this and that, and I think, and I do human design, and I love psychology, and I'm here and I'm there, and I feel like Susan is much deeper in human design when I compare myself to her, because I'm like have so many things that I find interesting, but I'm going my way and trying not to judge myself too harsh. Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't, because you've given a great presentation here. And okay, so are we ready to go on to, we didn't talk about the 1A channel,
astrology.
But we'll talk about it later, maybe. Okay. So astrology. So yeah.
Sorry for interrupting. 1/8 was important for you, but we can dive into creative part in another time, like more detailed, if you like. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I would say that it's very interesting when I found out that I had the 1/8, because I really resonate with the open chi, and the 1/8 is our design, so we're not really conscious of it, right? We're not conscious of our
so subconscious
individual expression. And I'm creative, but I don't really feel creative. I don't like have any output of creativity. Not even like I was this very early on sing, and very early on I sang, and I was a theater actress. And I was like Cinderella in my play, and I just was so insecure about my singing. It was very high, and I had to go to this competition, and I froze. And I went on to become an actress because that's what I was recognized for. But I was always trying to prove myself with the open ego, all these things, and didn't feel confident enough. And when I hear you sing, I'm like, oh, so great. And so it's interesting to see that the ways that this plays out in our chart, in our astrological chart. In human design, everything's in the body chart, and astrology is a little bit more cryptic in how it shares the information. I think human design, even though it's very complex, people see the body, they're like, oh, okay. And there's certain things that you get right away easier than you do in astrology. But from an astrological perspective, the ways that we, our houses, our rising signs specifically, and the ways that our planets in our houses are different. So there's different, it's almost like we have similar themes, but they're different in the ways that they play out. And here's me, I'm a Libra rising, and you are a Sagittarius rising. And so for me, it's like, it's how people see you basically when you walk in the room. And so when you, the face. And so it was so interesting to me because my mom was a Sagittarius rising, and just yesterday when we were meeting, I was like, yeah, you have this similar facial, like just the ways that your face is broader, and it's Jupiterian, which Jupiter is more demonstrative in the ways that it's big, it's big. And not that like it's a big, but it's just more prominent of a facial features, and Venus rising is they're a little bit more delicate facial features, and so I thought that was very interesting because I could see the difference of that. And then Sagittarius, like you have a lot of travel in your background and philosophy and things like that. The ways that you've traveled, and also your interest in traveling, you're very, always hearing you going, I go in here, and it's just really enlivened me. And you have such resonance with travel, adventure, and philosophy. And so you're ruled by Jupiter, even though we both are our final dispositor, they call it in astrology. We're both ruled by Jupiter in some senses, and Venus is right next to Jupiter in our charts. So there is resonance with Venus as well, but it's like you are extra ruled by Jupiter because you've got your rising sign here, and so that's much more prominent theme in your chart is the different languages that you speak, and your education. You got it was a philosophy degree. You studied literature too, right?
No, yeah, I studied philosophy. I was simply good in writing in Russian. Yeah, so I studied philosophy. Yeah.
So, I kind of had some interest in philosophy when I heard it, but I was never going out there. I wish, in some aspects, I wish I would have been. I definitely have the interest in the larger themes in astrology and things like that. But from when I read in high school, talking about is it really the table or not the table? I'm like, who fucking cares? I don't care. I didn't care at that time, and so I was much more interested in going out into the world and being the actor part of me of really, and I was much more wanting to have a good time, relax, and all those.
I won't say that I spent my 5 years at the university by studying something. Mostly I was sitting in a cafe in the ground floor or living my life in a dormitory, but so many things happened. You can imagine Russia 90s when Putin was a part of city administration. Yeah, so don't have illusions about my study.
But it's interesting because your descendant is in Gemini, which means also who you are attracted to as a mate. You're much our South Node and your descendant is ruled by Mercury, and you are married to a professor, right? He's a mathematics,
he's
or he was.
My father was a professor.
Professor, okay.
Yeah, but my husband is also some kind of professor. He's a Saturnian figure. He's like a mathematician, and mathematical. He has a diploma in mathematical logic. Can you imagine how hard it is to argue with a person with such a diploma?
Yeah. Yeah. So mine is, because they say who you're attracted to is some parts of your descendant, like who you're attracted to, and mine and yours is Mercury related and mathematics, and mine was in Mars, and Mars is ruled by Capricorn, and my husband is a Capricorn, and the stability, the Earth stability is always what I needed in my life because we don't have a lot of Earth. So what happens in somebody that doesn't have a lot of Earth in their chart is that they don't use their resource. It's like a projector. They have a hard time with their resources, like physical resources and energetic resources, and so they're always looking for people to stabilize them in some way. And so I was, for my husband, it was like, oh, okay, he's dependable and I can depend on him, and I really needed somebody to stabilize me. But it's interesting how the chart kind of lays out. There's different themes, but there's still energy in there. So my North Node is in the second house, and it's all, and the South Node is in the 8th house. So it was, I've seen it play out, and where there's needing to come back to, or a desire to, I have to go out looking for resources outside of myself, but it's very important for me to come back and have my own resources. I don't trust other people's resources. So, I've always been driven to kind of make my own living. And also, how can I, the second house is about value and about self-value and about self-esteem too, and really honoring yourself. And that's been a journey for me to find my own security in myself, and not have to look for it outside of myself. And for you, the North Node is in the 12th house. And so it was like, very much South Node in the 6th house is like busy, scattered, busy, wanting this and wanting that and wanting to learn this. And, so Gemini is that way anyway, but it was like, in your daily life, needing to be busy with different things, being very interested in all of the different interests that you're involved in. And also, all of your planets in your 3rd house, you being a singer, it's very much like, okay, well, I want to perform. I want to learn this. I want to learn that. So then you're going to your 12th house, which is much more a deeper, what you're doing basically right now. I need to find deeper meaning in my life. I need to surrender in some ways all of the busyness that I've been going through. I need to kind of go deeper and broader, and in some ways kind of like that attraction to the mystics, and really being, the Neptune is right on your 11th house. So very spiritual in the direction that you're heading. And for you, it's like, okay, I definitely need some lack of resources, and having to temper having to live within a confinement of resources, and having to figure out how to make your way within that confinement of resources, and not having enough, and having to go outside of Russia, and all of the travel that you've done and the languages that you've learned, and having to survive within the limitations that you've which is very for me, it's amazing, the way, what you've been through and what you've had to go through to find your way in the world without a lot of resources. And for me, it's always been like the rebellion of speaking my mind, or learning and having my own voice versus, I came from a religious family, and my mom had too many kids and couldn't give me the attention that I needed, and the lack of motherly love, and the religious authorities that I didn't agree with, and really fighting against the religious authorities, and have always had problems with teachers. And and also I've recently understood Saturn to be this negative force in my thinking, like what is wrong with, like you said, you go into a room, what is wrong here? What are the looking at everything from a standpoint of criticism, and then when you turn that inwardly, like, so what do I don't want? Versus focusing on what I don't want instead of what I really want, and the positives of the future, so that I can get really hung up with that negative, oppressive energy in my head, and having to persevere despite that.
Okay, so this stubbornness, so you do feel, this reminds me about 28 and this stubbornness and readiness to fight. So even though maybe it would be easier to go away and do your thing, this. So for me, it is also well known. Instead of fighting, just go away and do your thing. But no, I would stay and fight. It's like enormous amount of energy wasted. Actually,
you've got Pluto right here and very near your midheaven and in the 9th house. So stubbornness for sure, that fighting, and very powerful. And mine is in my 12th house, which is, that 12th house is what is hidden. And so sometimes what happens, I think, with the Pluto in the 12th house is being very, there's a lot of subconscious stuff that's going on in the 12th house that informs what's happening, hidden enemies. Like there's, powerful forces hidden in, my environment, but also in my subconscious, that I think probably why it's been so helpful for me to meditate is to really understand what's going on, because I just really don't understand what's going on, and attracting those types of negative forces, and having to persevere despite those negative forces in my life. Yeah, they say that the Pluto in the 12th house is somebody who's been has lost everything in past lives, and have been through such catastrophes, and that they have a strong memory of that loss. And so there's a lot of fear that goes on with losing, and not being able to survive, basically.
So this is also 44, the gate 44 in human design, this knowledge of the past. And so I can imagine how hard it could be when you, and by the way, if you are talking in terms of karma, I suppose one can call our design or our charts like we have did some interesting things in our past lives, if we accept this concept. So I did a lot of things that one can call interesting, most likely. That's why my life this time is so interesting and different, and so many complications, and so never a dull moment. Do you understand it like this?
I mean, when people say about the 20, I've got the 22 degree on my rising sign, and also on my sun. We both have the 22 degree on our sun, and they say, but it's not really, the 22 degree is in Aquarius at the 22 degree, and the 49th gate is to kill or to be killed. And but it's also there's another person who has the degree theory about the 22 being a dangerous degree, but in reality it's actually the 21 to the 22. So but people see the 22 and they're like, oh my god, there's they've got a lot of energy, as far as like dangerous energy. But I would say I've been through some scary times. It was very close to 9/11 when it happened. I was in New York City. I just moved there in July when 9/11 happened. I was far enough away from it, but I was still near it. So I've been near places that were dangerous, I guess. But my rising sign is also on the star Spica, which means that I'm protected. So I'm near those dangerous places, but I'm protected. That's how I hope that I will be protected for the rest of my life. But that's kind of how it is. It's like there's things that I attract into my life, but in some senses I'm protected from those.
So let's put it like luck. Can you understand it like luck? Because I definitely can confirm in my case, because I always was in some places that could be considered as dangerous, and some dangerous thing happened near me, but never with me, almost never with me.
Yes, I could have, there's so many periods of things that I walked into, because with me, it was like the South Node in the 8th house. Very early on, I experienced violence in my immediate family, but that drove me to try to figure that out. And so I was always going out and trying to figure out that experience and put myself in very risky situations sometimes. and felt, and thankfully I never got killed or, damaged more than I probably I could have as a woman. I think I felt myself just kind of walked into those places just out of curiosity and trying to get outside of myself. Yeah.
That's nice. Also, the persons with a quite difficult karma, but blessed with a kind of protection. Yeah, let's put it like this.
Guardian angel. You've got the
I have
right there in your degree, guardian angel. And I also would like to point out that we both have our part of fortune in the 12th house, which means that we definitely need our alone time and away from people. It could be a kind of a hermit energy in some senses. That's gotten more and more as I've grown older, because sometimes people say, oh, triple slit, you need to be out and about. And I'm like, oh, no, not really. I don't actually like to be around too many people. It's too much stimulation for me. How about you?
So let's say for the moment, I feel myself, I feel really nice because I can meet people when I go out, and I can close my door and stay alone. And this is an ideal combination when you can go out if you have to.
Yes.
Like I really love to walk in libraries. It's wonderful, two wonderful libraries in Berlin, and I can travel to one of them. I choose every time, and it's so nice to spend half a day or even a whole day there. But I need to come to my room. I have a relatively small room, but with my bed, my table, my computer on it, and I can close the door. This is my space.
Exactly. Really yeah, me too. Ever since I came into this house and I have my own bedroom again, it's just like heaven. Because I grew up in a huge family, and I never had my own space hardly. And then I went out into the world. I had a couple of apartments, very briefly, that I lived by myself. And now it's like, oh, I just want to be by myself for periods of time and just have that privacy, for sure. Okay, we're getting a little bit overtime. So we in this series, we're going to have our judgments. So things are always judgments per se, but what are we experiencing in life? And we have a couple of topics we wanted to talk about. So why don't you take it first with describe what you've been focused on lately?
So lately, I'm enjoying completely the things that Dr. K has puts on his YouTube channel. He's like Harvard trained psychiatrist. Actually, he comes from India, but he was educated in United States, and like he's amazing because he combines these two sides of the coin. Yeah, some kind of Ayurveda approach, Indian teachings. This stays in the background, and the way he talks, it reminds me more the Indian style of teacher. Yeah, the way he talks, but his English is like almost ideal and so on. The language how he manages the language, but actually he is a trained psychiatrist. And he understands the underlying concepts, and he brings the questions that are still open or haven't been discussed properly yet. So, for example, what is the difference between in psychotherapy for men and women? And the fact that, for example, even though all the medications are made initially for men, as we know, yes, that's why the work not so ideal on female patients, yeah, just because the studies were not done on us poor women, yeah, and that's why, for example, ibuprofen works with us not the way it works for men, and we face some complications because of it, and that's a fact for almost all the medications. It changes slowly, but changes. And then psychotherapy, it is like another situation, because the first models, the training models were almost always women. Yeah. And this question, how do you feel, could be really tragic for some men just because they are not living that way. And he is prone to put more accent on education, on psychological education, on understanding how your psychic works, how can you improve it, how can you help yourself. And that works better for men, but to be honest, it works ideally for me also, because the things he tells, I know some of them, but his approach, his understanding how your personality works, like, I'm truly amazed. He is a bit difficult to listen to just because he has so much information. He wants to share everything at once. But he is, as a young person, he was a game addict, and his idea of healthy gamer and the things that he does now, so like, he cured himself first. He spent some time in India in ashrams, and he learned with good teachers. And then he studied psychiatry, and he started to practice like a normal doctor. And then he understood that it would be nice to help other people there online, and he could reach a wider audiences and maybe help them in some way to improve their life and avoid the addiction and stay as a healthy gamer in your game. So I'm really surprised. This combination of mentalities, like, as always, yeah, Indian that has an American education and European understanding of things, but he combines it all. It's like it brings such an interesting thoughts. And yeah, like, my compliments, Dr. K. You're cool.
What is his Dr. K? What? Spell his last name.
That's like really difficult. But if you Google it like Dr. K, you find him immediately. He has an Indian name, even more complicated than Tatiana Samakhvalova. I can Google it right now if you like me to pronounce it. That's why I understand why he.
K, yeah. as in just the letter K, or K?
Yeah, letter K, yeah.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure people could find him.
His name is Alok Kanoya. Oh, not that Alok Anand, by the way. Alok Kanoya. But you would find him definitely like Dr. K.
It's interesting. Do you know how old he is?
Oh, he looks like 30-something, 35 maybe, but not older.
Yeah. It's interesting, these new people that are coming out, these thought leaders in their industry, is like, trying to reach a broader audience. And it's just an interesting, it's like a millennials coming out and having these celebrities basically, and coming up with different ways to help people, which is I'll have to listen to him to see what I think.
Just check him, because he's really nice.
I mean, if you usually give me good recommendations, we have a similar taste. I'm not as much into I like the psychology part, but I frankly wish people would have known, in my own experience with psychology, wish that they would have known human design and astrology. Sorry, because I would have gotten a lot more information from that. So a lot more understanding about my psyche and what was going on underneath than the ways that they approached psychotherapy, which was a lot of talk and a lot of going back into your experiences, which is important, but at the same time does not really bring into the patterns. Like, I feel like it definitely patterns, but just couldn't really quite grasp or understand why I couldn't. For instance, knew that drinking was not good for me, and could not understand why I couldn't quit, or why I went through these periods of judgment basically on myself. It's just like this authoritarian in myself, and extremes of what I did, and I felt like I really understood my psyche so much better by studying my astrology and human design than I did from the various therapists that I had. But it might have been just the time that the timing of it. Yeah, so it's funny, this weekend, because of human design, thank God, sometimes I'll wake up and I'll know right away that I need to rest. My body is just like, I have no energy, and I just have to rest, and I have to give myself that permission. And I woke up this weekend, and thankfully I have a family who who allows that, because there's a lot of guilt that goes with that, with like I can't function. I've got to be in my room this whole day, and it's still, the guilt's there sometimes, but I also am like, well, this is what I got to do. So what I did was I read a book that I had previously purchased. A person that I worked with in 2014. It's funny that this is coming up because the nodes are in the opposite. The Aries, we're in Aries Libra nodes, and we didn't have the same nodal configuration since 2005, but in 2014 it was the flipped nodes, and in 2014 I had kind of like a highlight of my career at this virtual reality company, funny enough. And but it was very stressful. It was during my Pluto square midlife transit. It was very stressful, and it was battling again, like the authorities that were there. There was 3 men who owned that company, and I was battling them as I do, and basically trying to prove my worth. And Kate was a person that I met there. She's significantly older than me, and at the time I think she was in her 50s, and she came in to join the sales team. And Kate is a very energetic, bright presence. She's got spirit, you would say. She's got a lot of spirit and energy, and I just noticed it right away. She's a very stylistic person, and just a very interesting person with a lot of just I can't even describe it, just a really attractive spirit. And I met her, and I connected with her right away. And she, at the time, I remember her talking about her marriage, and she was going through some difficulties with her marriage, but she was a writer. And she was kind of went through the .com crash, and had tried to figure out, a resurgence of her career. And the time and the company was focused on travel, and so she came in as trying to be the salesperson, or trying to sell into that industry. And so I hadn't talked to her in a long time. And she was on LinkedIn, and she said she had this book, and I was like, oh, this is really interesting. She was, and so I read it in one sitting, and it was basically about her coming to terms with all of the things that she had encountered in her life, with being very critical, especially of her weight. Her mom was very critical of her weight, very obsessed with her weight, and very critical of her. And she got into a marriage, and it was the same theme. He was very critical of her. And at the time, and she had her second child. We're 40. I'm 49. We're 49, right? She had her second child when she was 47. I was like, oh my God. So she's probably she's in her late 60s, I think, and she had this rare thyroid cancer, and it went through her experience and all of the things that she was grappling with that. But it was just amazing to me. She must be some generator person, because she's just constantly very courageous in what she's doing, and traveling and adventuring. And she's talking about how all of her struggles, but at the same time, I'm just like, man, she's done so much more in her life than I could ever imagine. And also something that's very attractive about that to me, it's like that Sagittarian energy. And you've got a little bit more of that, just like that fearlessness of trying new things. And she was like, she went from New York City, she went to the Alps and was like hiking these Alps, these difficult summits with somebody. And then she moved to Colorado, where she decided to become a ski instructor. She just has that just fearlessness, but she was battling this disease. And at the end of it, it was basically, she was a survivor. I have no idea, what's going on right now, but it was just it was just an interesting thing. She had gone through some of the, I don't know. Do you know Joe Dispenza? You know him?
Oh, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I know him.
So she was, doing different things to kind of connect with herself and connect with the healing and the ways that she was dealing with her cancer. It was very varied, but it was just an inspiring book, and it was just so great to hear her story. And so I got a lot out of that. And And I guess lastly, we wanted to talk about sort of what brings us here. And I picked this picture, and it's like the spirit dances while while we're moving. The Zen, the spirit dances our whole body, and I think that's what it is. Spirit dances the whole body, and basically, how we found ourselves here into this, where we're going, which I think we're both going in a direction that we can only go, and we can't, and we're just like, we have to go here, which is something that's deeper and more spiritual. And there's a breakdown of our old life. Like I'm leaving my marketing career more and more that I'm noticing. I'm like, I don't want to be in this corporate marketing anymore, even though I'm like, well, this is the only way that I can make a living, and what else am I going to do? And nobody's knocking down my door for astrology readings, but I cannot anymore feed into the marketing that's going on in the USA. I can't be in this place anymore. And I can't even find the energy to even go out and apply for jobs in a marketing environment that I know I'm just not going to be interested in the ways that people are doing things. And so I'm in this transition of I'm wanting some deeper spirit, but not knowing where that's headed. And I know you're in the same boat.
Yeah, I'm also on the same boat. Just that I cannot live any more the way I lived before. So this is like a turning point. In human design, we call it a Chiron Return. Yeah. And it approaches, we both celebrated on 2nd of May. We definitely has to do something out of it. We can make a podcast on this day. We can celebrate online. But like, let's see how it turns out. But it's definitely the feeling that the old life is ending. And it is definitely not important if I like it, if I want it, if I do not want it. The old ways of living are coming to an end. It is totally clear. Like my previous life is like laying behind me in ruins. And I have to go forward. That's the only way. And I cannot say that a long line of people are waiting for my readings or for any kind of coaching. If I position myself like kind of coach, actually I want to be a psychologist, but it's not that easy. Like everybody understands, you have to study for years, and philosophy here is not of a big help. But so we are finding ourselves the same grounds and at the turning point of our lives. But it is at the same time, it is a moment when everything comes truly together. Yeah, like I'm starting to understand better the way I lived before, the patterns and everything. Now I see the whole picture.
Yeah.
And the only thing remained is hope. Yeah, your motivation is remained for us. Like there is no way back. We have to go forward. If you're going through hell, please continue. Yeah, like please go. Don't stop. Don't turn back. There is no way. That's how it goes for the moment.
It's funny that you bring this up because I have a theme with fear. My husband is a fear motivated person. My dad was too, and your moon is right on my dad's south moon. It's like a couple degrees away from my moon, and so there's a theme. I think that they say that it's an exit frequency, so you're supposed to be drawn out of you. And it's interesting that you say, you're the hope, and and even in this organization of this podcast, I'm like putting together the slides and stuff.
Yeah.
So you're bringing the planning and all the things out of me, and it's just funny that you talked about the hope, because that's what I'm supposed to. If I'm incorrect, I'm supposed to bring that out in people that are near me. And I think I've gotten a little bit better even with my husband, because when we first got together, like you said, the judgments and trying to change him and everything. And now, I'm thinking, we're a little bit in the same boat, my husband and I, because we're both out of full-time work, and he's got some jobs, and I'm praying that he gets some money-paying job because I have no idea what we'll do. But it's almost like I can't help it. I can't help where I'm at. And even though I see everything at the precipice of falling apart in my life, it's like, I just have to surrender to it. I'm at that moment in the projector's life where, you know, I've seen a lot of people go through this in the groups, and some people encourage it. It's like, you know, there's no invitations coming in. And so I gotta wait. And I've got that, you know, the motivation where I'm like, I know something's going to come in. And it just, right now it's not, and it's scary. It's for a projector, because you're like, oh, and sometimes you just gotta like go to that nth degree. I've seen a lot of people actually, I didn't like this part where it was like, you're going to become homeless. How could you do that? And then I'm like, now that I'm seeing myself go through it in a way, I'm not going to let myself I've got a, you know, child or whatever. I'm not going to get that, I hope, that desperate. But you kind of can see that, you know, there's a point when you just have to let it go, your old life. You just have to. And then hopefully some new invitations come in. That's all I can do.
We have to mention here that for projectors, it is important to receive invitations from life, for people who offer them your energy in exchange for your knowledge. Yeah. That's why. Otherwise, you can invest a lot of energy in a project that you initiate, and then you're done laying in ruins and burnt out and so on. That's how the natural way of living for projectors looks.
That's what happened to me. You know, in the job that I was telling you about in 2014, they rejected me at the beginning. And it was a very hard time, a transition of like what I was going to do next. And I had to persuade them to hire me. And because of that, it totally burnt me out. I mean, I had some really, I brought a lot to the table for them, but they just decimated me. And then part of that was my fault too, but it was like, it was just a battle. And frankly, that's how I feel. It's like, I have a risk of killing myself if I go down this path in a way that's not invitation initiated. I will die. That's how desperately I feel, because I quit drinking. Because I was drinking a lot during that time to get through that period of stress, because I was trying to prove myself and, you know, all sorts of things. And I really think I quit drinking in 2019. And I really think that if I went back and had to do that, I wouldn't be here anymore. So it's really for my health that I'm taking this leap of faith that something's going to come in, because I can't do it the way that I used to as we're approaching 50, right? No? Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so we did it. I suppose.
We did it. Our first episode under the wraps, and you know, I think we're gonna hopefully have some fresh energy and things that we'll talk about next. And we have no idea kind of where it's gonna go, but I know I enjoy talking to you, so I'm sure it'll be
same
good,
thing
no matter what. Even if it's just to ourselves, right?
Then it's like productive exchange. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, awesome. Okay. All right, good night. It's daytime here, but
and have a nice day. Yeah.
Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Ciao, ciao, cacao. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.